reports have come out that DJ Lagway hasn't had the easiest go of things in his first couple scrimmages. I want to talk about this, but first, I want to say hats off to most of you guys for not melting down over here about this piece of information. I know that sometimes we make too much of things, and listen, Gator fans, I really haven't seen that much out of most of you. So shout out to the sane Gator fans for not losing their minds. I like it. All right. So Lagway reportedly had 4 turnovers in the most recent scrimmage and then had at least one of them in his first scrimmage. As a reminder, UF's defense only forced 7 turnovers last season, which was good enough for last in the SEC. So it wasn't necessarily a defense that forced a lot of mistakes by opponents last season. I want to tell you guys why I am not worried about this in the slightest. But before I do that, let me know right now on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you are completely freaking out, 1 being this does not move the needle for you at all. How worried are you about Lagway's early mistakes this spring? Okay, so listen, now I'm going to tell you why this is not something to freak out about at all. Not a big deal. UF is throwing a ton at Lagway right this minute. This is a kid that should be in his second semester of his senior year in high school. He should be getting ready for prom, right? He's 17. What I am hearing is that UF is not holding back. They want him to start grasping things early. This is not something where they are giving him bite-sized pieces of the playbook, letting him digest it before moving on to the next. They want him to learn this offense. They want him to know the whole playbook. They're throwing a ton at him. Again, 17 years old, should be in his second semester at UF. Also, he's going up against more experienced guys than most true freshmen will ever see. He is clearly quarterback 2. He is not getting to take reps against the 3rd and 4th string guys out there, which is what happens for most freshmen. So think about that. Way more experienced defenders, guys that have adjusted to the speed of the college game, is who he is going up against. But the most exciting part of all of this to me is the fact that UF's defense is getting better. I have heard nothing but fantastic things about Coach Harris in the secondary. Have you seen any of the clips that they have put out from practice and the scrimmages? He is getting on them. It is intense. Those practices are fast-paced, in each other's faces, going after it hard. That is exactly what UF needs to do if they want their defense to improve. We are seeing that happen. Ron Roberts has them more together. We've talked about this. Ron Roberts was brought in to kind of be the head coach of the defense. We talked about the fact that he's brought in to almost coach the coaches, which I know we had lots of discussions about whether or not that should ever be necessary or whatever, but he's here and he's making a huge impact on this defense for the positive, a huge impact on this coaching staff. I cannot tell you how many people I have talked to that has been at practices or been at scrimmages that have said, listen, we have not seen this pace of play since Coach Napier got to Florida. We have not seen practices this intense for a decade in Gainesville. Those are all the things that I needed to hear. And then another reason that I think that we shouldn't be freaking out about DJ is that the defense always seems to be ahead of the offense in the spring. That just seems to kind of always be the way that it works, right? And Florida's defense is the one that they more than likely are putting the most emphasis on improving this spring because it's what needed the most improving, right? So it makes sense that that's where these guys are getting coached up the most. It makes sense where that's where the most leaps are because that's where the most growth was possible. And I think the biggest reason that we don't need to be concerned about this at all is that DJ Lagway is the kind of kid who has always bounced back from adversity. Think about over the summer when On3's rankings came out and we were all up in arms and upset at On3 because Lagway was not ranked where we thought he should be, right? What did he do? He went out and had the most efficient and prolific senior year that I can remember in a long time out of a high school player. Broke tons of records in Texas, won Gatorade Player of the Year. Every accolade, every award you could possibly imagine, proved to everybody why he actually was the number one quarterback in this class, why he was such a good mantelpiece for this Florida class. He went out and showed it on the field because people doubted him, right? You can look at film from his games all season long, not just his senior year, but if you look back at his junior year, his sophomore year, in game situations, he is a leader on the field. His team is better because of him. So it does not stress me out at all that somebody who isn't even technically old enough to be in college is having some growing pains. This is completely normal. And the exciting thing is that these growing pains are happening while Florida has Graham Mertz as their starter, has a leader for this team, doesn't need DJ Lagway to be the starter yet, does not need him to be the vocal leader of this team yet, because they have someone doing that. So Lagway is allowed to come along at his own pace, truly absorb, learn this entire playbook, learn how this program operates, have a good rapport with his coaching staff on his time. That is the best piece of news in all of this. And all in all, this isn't something I'm incredibly worried about. It's not something I'm even going to say I'm even slightly worried about. Like I said, we know quarterback one is Graham Mertz. And DJ Lagway is going to be better in the future for having experienced sitting behind him this season. Speaking on quarterback one and Graham Mertz, he fired a pretty good shot earlier. If you missed that, you can check it out right here.